Is this thing on? All right, yo, if you're applying at one of Iman Gadzhi's agencies, yo, get ready because it's gonna be an intense experience. I'm gonna get into it right now. Let's go. So last week I applied for Iman Gadzhi's agency, GYA. I saw on his Instagram story that he was hiring people for the SDR role, which is pretty much a sales position. It was pretty cool because it was a remote job, remote position that you could work from anywhere in the world, and it was 100% commission based. I was like, all right, let me just give this a try, let me apply. So pretty much the first thing, there was this link, you have to fill out this short questionnaire. What's your name? What's your Instagram handle? What country you're from? What country you're in right now? How long have you been following Iman? Are you or were you ever a student at Grow Your Agency? Then there was two short response questions. Why do you think you'd be a good fit for the SDR role? And why do you believe you'd be a good culture fit at GYA was the last one. So if you're watching this video, you probably already gotten past that point, so let's get to it. I filled that out. I'll show you my responses below. The next morning at 9 a.m., I got a link with an unlisted YouTube video from the COO of GYA, and his name was Paul, super cool guy. So he hyped up the company culture at GYA, and then he said, if you're not the type of person who's in the self-development, you're not gonna make it here. He also said something that was super important that will come into play later for me. He said, in order to work here, you can't have any side gigs, automated side gigs, any type of side work that you put any type of effort into. You can't be in university, so you have to work 100% for GYA. After all those parameters, he said, if you wish to continue, all you gotta do is make a simple video. The video had very specific parameters. It had to be longer than 1 minute, less than 2 minutes. You have to wear a black shirt, and there had to be a hand-drawn whale in the video at some point. The subject matter of the video had to include these three things. What are you doing right now to better yourself every single day? Describe yourself in one sentence and everything they need to know about you in one sentence. And if you was getting drinks with him and Iman or him and some members of the team, what would you want to talk about? Where would you take the conversation? So you had less than 2 minutes to fit all that stuff in, wearing a black shirt and have a hand-drawn whale in there. Oh yeah, and did I mention that you had just over 24 hours to create and upload this video to YouTube? I'll put the link to my video application below if you want to check it out. I got an email saying, congratulations, you made it to the next stage of the hiring process. Next up is a group interview on Wednesday. This time you have to wear a white shirt and bring your favorite book. Honestly, I was pretty hyped to make it to this step because I put a lot of effort into the video. The group interview was definitely the most intense part. Imagine this, interview on Zoom with 30 people wearing all white. And because I live in Italy, it started at midnight my time. There were people from all over the world there. Most of the people were from the United States. There was one person from El Salvador, one person from Argentina, I think. There was a handful of people from the UK and Germany, and there was 6 people from South Africa. All the South African people were super cool. I was the lone Italian / American, whatever. When the interview started, the COO, Paul, the guy from the YouTube video, introduced himself, and he introduced a couple of other people that were wearing black to kind of differentiate them. Those were other people who worked at GYA as well. So on the Zoom meeting, it was mostly all people wearing white, but if you seen anyone wearing black talking, then you knew that they worked for GYA. So it was pretty clever of them to do that. He congratulated us on making it this far because he said 1,100 people applied for this position, and they're really only looking for 3 or 4 people to add to the team. So he said because there were so many people, he was gonna have to start making cuts fast. And then he said, yo, I'm just gonna leave it to you guys for the next 2 minutes. We're all gonna just sit back and listen. Go ahead. He let us talk for a couple minutes, then he came back, cut 4 people just off top. We were all kind of shook, yo, 5 minutes into this interview and he's already sent 4 people home? That's crazy. After those cuts, he gave us all about 1 minute to introduce ourselves, say where we were from, and then discuss the book we picked and why we picked it. Mostly everyone had self-help type books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, the usual. The book that I picked was the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I explained how when Malcolm X went to jail, he educated himself just through books and all that, and I think that resonated with them because GYA, they're trying to change the status quo of the education system, the traditional college route. So I don't know, that really resonated with them. During this part of the interview, they were booting people out immediately if they didn't like their answers or if they had a bad internet connection. I think they booted another girl out because she was on her phone and her internet was tripping. So they were a little bit brutal in this part. Just, they didn't like your answer, bye. Once we got through this part, he sent everyone to the waiting room and they deliberated and they talked about who they wanted. Came back, there was 10 people left in the room. So for the 10 of us that were left, they came back and asked a bunch of questions a little bit deeper. What are 3 words to describe yourself? Why did you choose to apply for this role? And other questions like that, just kind of probing deeper. This was a little bit less structured because there was only 10 people at this point. And then they kind of brought up their initial concerns of everyone, which was kind of cool. Their initial concern with me was the fact that I'm a artsy person, I'm a DJ, photographer, videographer. They're like, oh, you know, why do you want to go into a role that's like sales? Most people who are into artsy stuff tend to like gravitate back towards artsy stuff. Kind of fair, but whatever. We're about 2.5 hours into the meeting at this point. So it's like 2:30 a.m. my time. For the South Africans, it was like 3:30 in the morning. I kind of felt bad for them, I'm not gonna lie. After this round, they made us wait in a waiting room again. They deliberated for about like 15 to 20 minutes. When we came back, there was 5 of us left. It was a pretty intense night. So Paul explained to us what was gonna happen next. We'd have a meeting the next day with Max, who's the head of the sales department. If we made it past that, then we would have another one-on-one meeting with Paul. And then from there, if we made it past that, then we'd be hired, but there would be a hell week. And during that hell week, it would be like a training week, and the bottom 2 people, they were gonna let go. Or at least that's what they told us. But I thought that was pretty brutal because as soon as you get hired, you could still get let go within 1 week. That's crazy. Like, you don't even get 90 days, nothing like that. That's intense. I kind of struggled to sleep that night. It was super intense, but there was also a pressing issue on my mind. I knew that they were real big on you can't have any other side work, anything like that. And next month in the United States and Mexico, I have 9 gigs in the United States and 1 DJ gig in Mexico. And I was like, should I like bring this up? I think if I bring this up, they're just gonna like let me go right there on the spot. So I was debating with that all night, like internally, like, do I tell them? Do I tell them in this next meeting? Do I just try and work with it? What do I do, you know? The next morning, 9 a.m., ding, it's an email to schedule a one-on-one with Max. I picked the first available, which was at 2 p.m. my time. That was probably a mistake, to be honest, because I didn't lay down until like 3 a.m. and I needed to be 100% like 11 hours later. The next day, the meeting with Max started off great. It was actually Max and another dude named Andreas who also worked there. The meeting was going great, and then I decided to bring up my DJ situation. I told him, yo, I have like a few gigs back in the States next month, but after that, you know, I'll be all clear. I'll stop accepting gigs as soon as I get hired here. And as soon as I said that, the whole mood of the interview changed, just like that. He was like, oh, so you can't go full time until the end of February? And I was like, I mean, I just have DJ gigs on the weekends at night. You know, you won't even notice that. He was like, oh, well, and then the whole mood of the interview changed right after that. Like, I felt like I knew I wasn't gonna go any farther than that. To be fair, the dude Andreas, he was kind of defending me because I guess he had a similar situation. He had some other work that he had to finish up at the same time he got hired. He was like, bro, I was sleeping only 2 hours every night. It was rough for that like month of transition time, you know what I mean? But I could kind of tell in Max, because he was the person who needed to make that decision, I could tell Max wasn't having it. Like, he kind of started to cut the interview short, and I feel like it was all good until then. Anyways, that was my last interview at that point, so I didn't make it to that final interview with the COO, Paul, which I kind of wish I did, because I could tell from the group interview that Paul kind of liked me. He had like given me a couple like props and compliments, but so I got an email later that night from Max saying that we're pursuing other candidates. To be fair though, he did assure me that my DJ schedule and all that didn't actually factor into them not choosing me, so it feels nice that he said that at least. So I just emailed Paul, the COO, and I was like, yo, thanks for the super unique experience. I just got eliminated from the Hunger Games, as he was calling it. He emailed back promptly and was like, yo, I hope you have more clarity in your future. Maybe this was just a standard reply, but it definitely struck a chord with me because I definitely don't have that much clarity in my life at the moment as to like exactly what I want to do. That's why I was like applying for this job, and I think they were able to tell that. So if you're trying to apply, just know that Iman's agencies have very, very high standards, and it makes sense because if you see the success of Iman, obviously he has really high standards, so it makes perfect sense. The hiring process is extremely tough, but it works for them. It weeds out the people that they don't want, and it probably keeps people in that really want to be there and really need to be there and fit in with their company culture perfectly. The only issue that I did have was the fact that they eliminated a couple people. There was one guy they eliminated, or actually there was two people they eliminated that were like searching for jobs, and like, oh, we don't hire people that are searching for jobs. We hire people that like want to work here. So I was like, it's kind of weird because they want you to have like immediate availability. They want you to be able to work the next week full time, no nothing on the side, but you can't be searching for a job. Like, but you know, there's billions of people in the world, so obviously it works for them. Did me revealing that I had DJ gigs left over affect my candidacy? Maybe. They said no, but who knows? Would I apply again at GYA or another of Iman's agencies? Definitely I would, because I like how structured they are and how like intense it is, because I'm sure that rolls over into their company culture really well. If it was a job that I was just thinking about, maybe I wouldn't apply, because that was like a really intense 4 days. My advice to you, if you're applying at GYA or another one of Iman's agencies, just make sure you bring your A game, come 100% correct, because it's super competitive, and I'm sure working there is like even more intense. If you can get fired after 1 week of working there. In the comments below, if you are applying for a job at one of Iman's agencies, put it in the comments, let me know what it is, and then come back later and let me know how far you got in the process, or if you got hired. Also, let me know if anything went differently for you, because I'm sure their company's changing. They're super fast, super dynamic, so I'm sure stuff's changing all the time. So put it down in the comments below, and good luck.